Alright guys, so here's another watch from Militado. They've been coming out with some great watches lately, some really good budget offerings, a few of which I've already checked out, so I'll leave a link to the playlist down in the description if you want to check them out. When it comes to this one though, this is the Militado ML07 Field Watch. So they actually have a few different variations that are similar to this one, but we'll talk about that as we get into the review. But this one is arguably the best value field watch you can get. So I'm actually going to tell you the price now up front. So this is coming in at $49. £38, €45. So I think that's a bit of a steal. So I'll quickly take the watch out of the way for a second, briefly show you the packaging you get in passing. It's nothing too fancy, but it's a nice soft kind of leatherette type box, padded cushion in there, and then you've got the warranty card. And here's the actual watch. So they only actually do this one in the black dial version, but I think they may end up coming out with some white ones because some of the other different variations do actually have white dial versions too. So you can actually get this in 36mm or 38mm. They're basically the same watch as far as I can tell, with a few different little variations in terms of specs. So I'll leave links down in the description to all the different ones I'm going to talk about. But before we go into any more detail, first of all let's go over the dimensions. So with this particular version, the ML07, this is coming in at 36mm diameter, 9.9mm thick, 18mm lug width, and then the all important lug to lug. It's coming in at 43.6, so some pretty nice compact dimensions there. And then as I said before, they also do a 38mm version as well. When it comes to the weight on this one, it's coming in at 43 grams, so again nice and light as well. So I'll show you that in a bit more detail now, because it is quite nice this. So we've got the sandblasted hardware on this, which actually matches the case. Not always a given, so I do appreciate that. It's unbranded on the buckle. And then when it comes to the strap, I think this colour suits the watch perfectly, and it's nice and malleable, not very stiff, because it is quite thin as well. So that is good, because NATO straps aren't really my favourite. Stitching's nicely done on the bottom as well. So, as I say, it is a pretty nice strap. And then when it comes to the case back, you can probably see that peeking through there. We've got a sterile case back, but it is screw down. And again, as I said, you can see that is also sandblasted. So if we flick around to the side now, take a look at the side profile, you can see we've got some nice drilled lugs there. So if you do want to swap out the strap, you can do that easily. And then again, we've got an unsigned crown. So there's no branding on this whatsoever. It's completely sterile. And then the next big thing you're obviously going to notice is that crystal. So it is a really nice high dome crystal on this. And we'll be checking in a bit if it is actually sapphire or not. When it comes to the finishing on the case, it's really nicely done. As I say, sandblasted finish, really smooth. Given the price of the watch, I'm really impressed with how well it's finished. But now let's move on to the dial and talk about that in a bit more detail. So as I said, also unbranded, so no text on this dial whatsoever, which I definitely think was the right choice for this kind of style of watch, and especially given the size as well. If you tried cramming anything else in there, I think it just looked far too cluttered. Because we've already got the 24-hour markers on the inside as well, so any more, as I say, it might not even fit. So it's a fully printed dial, nothing applied, and then we've got those triangles around the outside in that yellow colour, and then that's matched with the hands, which have got like a photina on them. So when it comes to the Lume, that's probably going to affect that a bit, the fact that it's just printed and photina, but we'll check that out in a bit. I do like that we've also got those white borders around the hands as well, just to help them contrast against that black dial even better. And then when it comes to the second hand, we've also got that yellow kind of photina colour on there as well. But it's only on like about 3/4 of the hand, which is a little unusual. And then we've got that white counterbalance on the end and part of the bottom part of the stem as well. I kind of get why they've done it. So the centre section is all white and not with a yellow bit on top. You might maybe say that some of the hands are a touch on the short side. I personally don't think they're too bad. Perhaps the hour hand could be a smidge longer, but I think overall they're not too bad. So it's pretty much what you'd expect from this kind of style of watch. But now the question is, have we actually got sapphire on this? So let's check that out now, using the trusty Diamond Selector 2. And no, unfortunately we don't have sapphire crystal on this. But we have actually got K1 mineral crystal, which apparently is harder than your standard mineral crystal. So if you do actually want this 36mm version with sapphire crystal, they do actually do that, but obviously it's going to cost you a little bit more, and that is the ML02. And again, if you want a 38mm version with sapphire crystal, that's going to be the ML05. But again, obviously that will cost a bit more than this one because it has sapphire crystal, and I think it's a different kind of crystal. It's not as such a high dome on those two. But if you check the links in the description, you can see what they're both like. So now, let's get onto the movement. So we don't actually have an NH35 for a change. We don't even have an automatic movement. It's actually a quartz one. But it is a sweeping quartz movement. So it's the VH31. So that's why we're getting that really nice, almost mechanical smooth sweep of the second hand. I do like these movements. You kind of get the best of both almost. And because this is only a quartz movement and it's a field watch, not a diver, you don't really need a screw down crown, so we've just got a standard push-pull crown, which is pretty easy to access. It's ever so slightly recessed into the case as well. If I get a zoom in, you'll be able to see that a bit more clearly. So it's all working really well, no problems at all with the crown or the movement. But now let's get onto the Lume, because you're probably wondering, is that photina going to affect it? And if so, how much? So let's check that out now. So you can see we've got a little bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So you can see we've got that nice green glow of C3, but again, it is photina, so that's bound to affect the longevity, as is the fact that we've also got no applied indices, it's all fully printed. But initially at least, it's looking pretty good. I have to admit I was a little surprised they haven't actually loomed the numbers. I thought they might have been just actual C3 on them, but we haven't got that, it's just on those triangles, which does actually look pretty good to be fair. And in terms of patchiness, no issues with that. It's consistent across the hands and the indices, and that arrow second hand is looking really good fully loomed as well. Well, more or less fully loomed, as are the other hands as well. So, as I say, initially pretty good. But the question is, how long is it going to last? Let's speed this up now and find out. So, to begin with, not much of a change as you'd expect. But as we go on, you will see that those indices will fade a bit, which, again, you pretty much expect. The hands are also fading a little bit too, but not quite as much as the indices, I don't think. They're staying a bit brighter. Also, the indices are perhaps looking a touch more inconsistent now, but it's definitely not as bad as I was expecting, given it being a fully printed dial and the photina. It's slightly better than you'd expect. It's not going to last you all night by any means, but it's okay. So, hopefully you can see now why I said at the start of the video this could potentially be the best value field watch you can get. Yeah, it's not perfect. There's definitely a few things that you could maybe change, but again, given the price, I don't think you can really complain too much. And again, if this one isn't for you, they do have a few different ones, different slight variations, so they might fix some of the issues that this one does have. But let's show you what this one looks like on wrist, go over the pros and cons, and then you can make up your mind on this one. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it looks really good. As I say, I think the strap suits the watch perfectly. I'm not normally a fan of NATO straps, that's why I tend to wear them with the bulk underneath. I prefer it that way. I think it gives a cleaner look. And I really love that crystal on there, that top hat style. Just adds a little bit of distortion around the edge. I think it looks really good. Again, if you do go for one of the models that has sapphire, that is going to be different, so bear that in mind. I think this 36mm works quite well on my wrist, but I think I could probably do the 38 as well. I don't mind either way. I don't mind smaller watches. Obviously, if you're a bigger guy, the 38 is going to be a better option for you though. So there is a lot of really good stuff with this watch. I do really like the way they've got the sandblasting on the case and on the hardware as well. Nice to have it matching. Not always a given with Chinese watches. Also, I really like the choice of movement with that VH31 with that sweeping quartz. As I say, I think it's the best of both. You get that nice grab and go ability of a quartz, but it also kind of mimics an automatic. Legibility is great, as you'd expect. The strap suits the watch perfectly, and for someone who isn't really a NATO fan, I do actually quite like this. I've been wearing it quite a bit, but if you do want to change it out, you can do that quickly and easily, because we've got drilled lugs as well, which is always a nice touch. The only real issue I've got with this one is that lume, but I kind of expected that going in with it being photina, but perhaps they could somehow add a few more layers on that or improve that somehow, just so it will last you all night. But that is basically it. Again, don't forget the price of this is $49, so as I said earlier, for that price you can't really complain too much about these little slight niggly things. I think it's an absolute steal, and if you do want to pick one up, link is down in the description for this one and the other two that I've mentioned as well, if you do really want the sapphire instead of the K1 mineral. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.